Hey, what's up everyone, this is Prateek back with another video as promised with the review of Asus's latest and somewhat oldest, the Zenfone Zoom. I'm not the first one to put this video up, I'm sure there are plenty of reviews out there, but I hope you learned something new from my video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So these are the top 18 things that I've noticed using Zenfone Zoom over my review period. First, starting with the display. Those physical capacitive keys are not backlit, which might be disappointing for some if they use this device a lot in the dark, but that's the same case with all the Zenfones. Though you can turn on one-handed mode and use the on-screen buttons while you're using this device at night. Second, heading over to the design. Zenfone Zoom houses a camera/video shutter key, which is really handy at all times considering the bulkiness of this device, and looking at that aperture of f2.7 to 4.8 makes me worried, since lower the number of aperture, more the light gets in, but we'll get onto that shortly. Like I've said in my initial impressions video, the lens doesn't physically protrude outside the camera sensor while you use the 3x optical zoom. At least that is not visible because all the action that happens inside the camera sensor. Hence, this is the first phone having in-body optical zoom in the smartphone industry, period. Third, the second highlighting feature according to me is that massive internal storage, which is 128GB. I mean, damn. You can use this as your external hard drive and carry important data while you are out. Similarly, the RAM management is also a place where Asus has done a lot of work. Even though this phone is toasted with a lot of bloatware, you always have about 1.5 to 2GB of RAM free. Fourth, fast charging works like a charm on this device. Asus claims that you can get up to 4 hours of charge in just 10 minutes, which in my personal review was perfectly working fine. Whereas the 3000 mAh battery takes about 50 minutes of charge to fully back its juice up. Whereas there are various battery management modes bundled by Asus when you're low on juice. So you don't have to worry about the battery management, as the 3000 mAh battery does the job. Fifth, Zenfone Zoom comes with Android 5.0 on board, whereas Asus has confirmed that they would be soon seeding the Marshmallow update. Crazy, isn't it? Android and developer preview is already out right now, while we are still stuck on Android Lollipop here. I'm guessing the most important reason for the delay in the update is due to that camera. Who knows, Asus might have plans to bring RAW support to the camera app, and currently they might have issues implementing it. Even though Asus is providing all the latest security patches, I just hope we get a cleaner interface in the Marshmallow update. Sixth, Lan Yard port. The Lan Yard on the phone helps a lot, since it has a bigger body. 2 out of 4 times Zenfone Zoom slips from your hand, and that is what has happened with me personally. So make sure you clip that strip if you have small hands. 7th, last time I forgot to open the back and show that the phone has a 64GB micro SD card expansion slot and a micro SIM slot on the top, whereas you can see that the battery is sealed in, whereas the thickness of this camera module can be witnessed on the seam. It is good to see that you have an expansion slot for increasing the memory, although 128GB is enough. 8th, on the front there are the usual sensors, and we have a gorgeous 1080p HD screen that gives it a pixel density of 403 ppi. Although I would have loved to see a fingerprint sensor, since that's where the world is heading right now. 9. Whereas since we're speaking about the display, here is the crispy footage that Zenfone Zoom can render, and by crispy I meant real crispy. 4K, yes, you heard it right. The sensor is not capable of recording 4K, but it sure can play back 4K. And here's the living proof for those who are judging at the moment. Whereas you can detect the sunlight legibility, as I am recording this video right now in outdoor conditions. 10th, swiping down opens up iOS-like quick launch panel where you can search for anything within the system and online, whereas the latest trends are suggested below the search queries. I hope that Google Now was integrated into this. It would have been a much easier and a lot intuitive. 11th, themes bundled in the system setting helps in tweaking the look and feel of the device, which is quite nice to see. Don't worry, it is not as deep as a Cyanogen themer does, but it can help you tweak the settings a little bit here and there. So head over to the Asus theme store and download the theme, and this is how you install it. 12th, tapping and holding the recent key snaps a screenshot of your display, whereas there are various gestures that can be used to launch specific apps, which are covered in my earlier video. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Next, the call quality on the phone is decent enough, with proper reception signals due to the better bands equipped onto this device. although noise cancellation was a bit on the downside in my personal use, and it is a bit clumsy to hold this hand while you're on a call. 14th, Asus has also included Audio Wizard application that lets you have access over the entire system level volume. You can create your own volume profiles, and if you mess up, just hit the reset button and you're good to go. 15. The display output can be tweaked inside the display settings depending upon your own preference. I tend to prefer the vivid set of colors. It just helps in popping out the dim colors, which are sometimes less saturated. 16th, Asus is providing 100 GB of free Google Drive storage for about 2 years, which is sweet, and it is cherry on the top of the cake if you deal with strong data connections every day and every time. But the inbuilt 128 GB storage is more than enough. 17th, then let's head over to the main feature of that phone, camera. There are plenty of modes to deal with, each having its own unique features of what I'm going to show right now. So here is every other mode and the photo, which will be linked below in the description for you to judge. So let's begin. There's one more interesting feature that I encountered, which is the super resolution mode, which kind of reminds me of Nokia Lumia's and Oppo. Here on Asus Zenfone Zoom, the camera takes a 52 megapixel shot at 4:3 aspect ratio. It's just a super sampled image, nothing fancy, but the added resolution does help a lot in addition to some missed details. And another thing which is quite shocking is that when you turn on the video stabilization mode or the OIS optical stabilization mode, the video quality is set to 720p by default, which is quite a bummer. But if you're good at handling professional cameras, then the manual mode is going to make you feel at home. Increasing the white balance introduces yellowishness, and reducing the white balance gives bluish tones. Then we have the exposure controls, which is found on all usual cameras, but if you're dealing with low light conditions, tweaking ISO is going to help you a lot in getting a better picture, which also goes for the shutter speed, which simplifies the term. More the light gets in, better the picture quality. And lastly, we have the focusing ring, which is not that useful, but yeah, the added features sometimes help. I rather prefer the autofocus mode while clicking the shot on this phone. Similarly, you're bound to find almost the same features on the front shooter, only the resolution is going to be on the downside. So, the final question, is it a good buy at Rs 39,000 or roughly $590? Well, looking at the competition, my answer is 50-50. Depends upon the personal preference. If you are a person who loves to take smartphone photography to the next level, this might be in your top 5 choices. Put forth, Asus should have launched this device a tad bit earlier, which would have let them have a better market share of this device. Since at Rs 39,000, there are plenty of decent devices which are worth a buy. I'll be waiting for Zenfone Zoom 2. All in all, Asus has done a good job with this device. The only concern is the time frame that it was released at. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends. So I'll see you in my next video.